Guys, welcome back to episode 11, I believe, of the High Performance Cricket Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Cox, and today our main topic is going to be around recovery and how to maximize recovery between your matches, between your training sessions. The season's just getting up and going in Australia. In Melbourne, round one is tomorrow as I'm recording this on a Friday. I know that Sydney's been going for a couple of weeks and Brisbane's been going for a month or so now. And this weekend as well in Premier Cricket, we have senior cricket on the Saturday, and then we also have under 18s Premier Cricket as well on the Sunday as well. So it's quite an interesting thing how with junior cricket, the junior cricketers play more games and play more back-to-back games, yet their bodies are the ones that are more at risk of injury. So yes, although junior cricket is more of a priority, we're trying to identify the young talent, from a physiological point of view. It's a little bit backwards, but there's no other system, because as you get older, you don't want to play more cricket, really, because you got other priorities in life on a Sunday and etc. And junior cricketers, their goal is to try and make it to the top, and sometimes, you got to play back-to-back days, which means that recovery is even more important than ever when it comes to that. So we're going to touch on a few things there, things around sleep, things around the big rocks for recovery, a couple of myths and a couple of misconceptions that come to recovery. It can often be overcomplicated and really, overcomplicated is the right word to say, because people think that you need to do so many different things for recovery. Often the times, one or two things make the massive difference. We don't need to be going and doing 15 different modalities, and that might actually be hindering your recovery. But we'll go into that later on. Bit of junk chat, bit of updates on what's been happening in the last week or so. So last weekend in Melbourne was AFL Grand Final weekend. Solid weekend, I'll tell you that right now. I picked Brizzy, which I'm pretty happy about as well. So Brizzy got the win over Sydney. The game, I thought it was going to be a ripper game, to be honest, at the start. We were saying at the pub with the boys that we're saying that if it was going to be a blowout, we thought that Sydney would be the team to blow it out, but we thought Brisbane would win relatively close. We thought Sydney's midfield would have a lot of impact on that, but gee whiz. How about Ashcroft and Neil and Dunkley and McCluggage in that first quarter as well? Brisbane's mids absolutely smashed Sydney's mids. They went missing. And Brisbane end up obviously just taking an absolute piss and dominated. So, not gonna lie, happy that I picked them. Absolutely stoked that I picked them. But, geez, big going on at Sydney. I can't believe they just didn't show up again. So that was interesting. But it's an awesome weekend, AFL Grand Final weekend. I think it is one of the greatest weekends on the calendar. I had an absolutely monster weekend, to be fair. And to be fair, I've only just started feeling good today. It's really impacted me. I'm starting to get a little bit too old. First, the last year or so, as I started high performance cricket a bit more and started to really hone in on feeling good all the time and fitness, and still obviously being social and that, but usually have a few beers and then move to a couple of soda wars or something like that, and not have any monsters. But I've had a few monster nights in a row, and geez, knocked it out of me, I'll tell you that right now. So we had our Box Hill presentation night on the Thursday night, and we're sitting around, we're actually at the G on the Thursday night, which is elite. Table service beers, so someone was rolling around, with beers. Mate, want to fill up? I'm like, yeah, mate, absolutely, 100%. Lock that in. So we absolutely tucked in there, then rolled into the after party in Richmond as well, and that was semi-late night. And ridiculous story, actually. I was rolling out the joint for the after party in Richmond, walking to the kebab shop, absolutely fanging, as the feed at the Prezzo wasn't quite substantial, I don't reckon. A little bit small for my liking. So I was on an absolute heat-seeking missile to the kebab shop. And lo and behold, the St Kilda Cricket Club boys were there. Best mate Diet, Scandos. About 7 or 8 St Kilda Cricket Club boys were sitting at the kebab shop, which was absolutely elite. So it's good to see those boys. They had a wedding. That was actually pretty cool, running those lads, and they trained the next morning, which was not ideal for their recovery. Actually, which we'll go into later on today. But those boys, it was good to see them. Really small world. And then we rolled into Friday, pulled up pretty good, not gonna lie, and then had a pretty busy morning setting up. Hosted a house party at mine actually. So it's my birthday this upcoming Sunday. So if you're listening to this on the Monday, it will be the day before. So on the public holiday, we rolled out a house party at mine, and God, it was actually so much fun. We had an absolute great time. There's bodies everywhere. Like, we thought a few people would rock up, but like I weren't really too. Weren't too confident that. We're relatively confident, but we're not sure how many people are going to rock up. And then it sort of got big on us pretty quick, and all of a sudden we're looking around, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and the house is absolutely chockers. There would have been 80, 100 people rolling through the door. So that was pretty fun, I'm not gonna lie, and one of the funnest nights I've had for a while, and obviously in the element around all my mates. So that was seriously good fun. And then had to wake up and go again, grand final morning or grand final day. We went out for breakfast and it was pretty sore heads. Had an elite, what did I have? Like a prawn scrambled eggs on a croissant at the cafe down the street. Absolutely unbelievable. And then we had a booking at a pub in Richmond. Had our own little small private room. $150 for 4 hours, unlimited beers and food. So we did the maths at $16 a pint, which they were downstairs. We didn't have 9 beers in that 4 hours, which I think we made our money back, which was nice in the end. And then we rolled into Richmond that later on. Absolutely elite vibe. Went and rolled into Richmond. We hung around Richmond that night, and it was absolutely humming. Richmond was pumping on Saturday night after the granny, and that was another fun night as well. And then, Sunday was absolutely wrecked. So I am absolutely paying for it this week. Still managed to get to the gym, still managed to get me training sessions done, but absolutely rock and rolled me, and I was quite fatigued throughout the whole week. But we got through, and today's Friday, I'm feeling good. Now I've got my own footy presentation tonight at Clear Up, but I'll just be driving to that event, thankfully. That's going to be a great one. In terms of my last week as well, training-wise, I started a sprinting program. So, as you would know, I'm massive on running mechanics. I'm massive on sprinting for cricket performance. So, I've actually hired a coach, and I'm joining a sprint group, a sprint program for the next couple months. And with that, we did some testing at the start of the week. We saw where I was at. I did a session with my coach to go through my running mechanics and my analysis and my plan moving forward to try and bump up my top speed, because I'm absolutely so slow. I'm the worst sprinter of all time. I have good mechanics, I actually have good technique, but I just run really slow. So we're really just going to bump up my training, expose myself to a bit of volume of sprint work, and hopefully that my speed can go up. And then obviously just learning so much from these elite coaches as well has been awesome. So I've been to 3 sessions now, I believe, and already feeling the differences. Hit a top speed yesterday, so feeling good, but pulling up bloody sore. Obviously, coming in a little bit fatigued and a little bit under the weather and that. Haven't been the best prep, but we're getting the sessions done, and it's actually so much fun. Yesterday, it was 25 degrees. We're down at the track, do a 6-minute sprint, 6-minute rest, just sit in the ground, chill in the sun, try and get a bit of a tan, or try and get my freckles to combine together. That's the plan, and it was absolutely heaven. So that's been my sort of week of training. One thing I'm getting around right now is the AFL trade period. I am an addict to the AFL trade stuff. AFL trade radio has been slapping. Kane Corns and Sammy Edmund on the early trade. I've been absolutely getting around that. If I'm not listening to it live, I'm on the podcast. I'm everywhere. I'm loving it. Loving the trade stuff. I'm a Saints man. Josh Battles just gone to Hawthorn. See you, mate. Hopefully we get a first round compo. That will be absolutely gorgeous for that. But I'm actually pretty keen to see what happens with the trade stuff. One of the favourite times of the year for me. I'm all over it. Tradies podcast as well, and just getting around it. So hopefully I want to see another big name move. Oliver, obviously, could go to the category. That would be sick. I want to see some big moves. I want to see a name that we don't know yet pop up out of nowhere and then jump ship. That would be elite. But in terms of cricket and that, this week, as I mentioned before, Premier Cricket round 1. During the week, I was at Haileybury as well. So we had a pre-season camp at Haileybury where we did some fielding testing, some fitness testing, some strength testing, some power testing, which was really, really cool to get around those boys and help prepare them for the season ahead. So did some broad jumps. We did some vertical jumps. We did 2K time trial. A couple of really, really good results. A couple of the footy boys who do footy mainly as well as play cricket dominated 2K'er, And yeah, the guys who pretty much just play cricket and weren't in that footy squad that I work with this year were sort of nowhere near it. And that's something as well, like, that's the benefits of playing multiple different sports as well, is you get exposed to fitness and agility and change direction. Also, those footy boys too that were really good at the agility and the fielding, sort of testing we did as well. So that's why I'm really massive on kids playing multiple different sports, because you pick up things from those sports that help translate to you playing cricket as well. Premier Cricket Round 1, down at Frankston training last night, Thursday night. It was elite, get back into the rooms. They redeveloped their rooms, so it was nice to get back in there. And the facilities at Frankston Cricket Club, if you haven't seen them, if you're playing there this year, if you're from Melbourne, or even look online at Frankston Peninsula Cricket Club, the facilities there are actually ridiculous. Got 3 grounds that are like unbelievable right now. That's like MCG standard sort of stuff. Brand new pavilion, indoor nets and stadium. Oh, it's an absolute pad. So lucky to be involved there and around the facilities there. A bit of rebuilding year for the club. There's fair few players left, and it's time to try and cultivate a young group and really develop them. But it's going to be an interesting year. So might not be massive wins on the board, but hopefully they're competitive and can give a red hot crack. They've got Casey tomorrow, so a bit of a crosstown rival, bit of a pretty local rivalry. So hopefully the lads go all right. Casey are an elite team, so strong. So can't expect too much from the weekend in terms of a win potentially, but just based on how experienced Casey is. But it'll be pretty good to see the lads. Hopefully they put up a fight. But yeah, it's good to get back around the boys. Thursday night meals, bit of pasta. It was actually nice. Could have gone a little bigger servings in the pasta, just quietly. Did leave a bit hungry. But then what a massive win was beer on tap at the rooms. Unbelievable scenes. Screwing of Carlton Draft. I actually got fined for not having a beer and being too much of an influencer, apparently. So yeah, locked up, coughed up $6 on 3 fines already for the year. So I'll definitely be going on the cricket trip as I'm bloody funding it already. So that's me done. So I'm there. Hopefully the boys go to Bali or something like that. That'll be pretty fun. Cricket trips are elite. But we will digress. We will absolutely digress in there. So that's a bit of an update. 12 minutes of absolute junk from me. But hopefully, got an update on what's happening in terms of recovery. But in terms of my experience of recovery, I've done a couple of soft tissues in my time, especially in my adductors. And the first time I did my adductor was when we were just coming out of lockdown. So a couple of different factors. Number one, obviously our workloads weren't at that high because we were in lockdown and restrictions and training and all that sort of stuff. We all remember those times. So it wasn't ideal in terms of come back into full training. But what also happened, was, let's say we went from a stage 4 back out to a stage 3 and we could train outdoors or whatever it was. We also got opened up the night before was pubs could reopen. So me and my mates forgot, geez, we haven't had a beer on tap for years. How good is this? Roll down, we've only had 3 or 4 beers. It's down at Rand fairly actually. A few beers, hit a few golf balls at the driving range. Roll in, about 5th ball up bowl, trying to bowl flat out, bang, groin. Done it, didn't really get up and go until after Christmas that season. And that's one of the main things that affects recovery is you're drinking alcohol. And yes, it's a bit of a cricketing thing, go out a few beers not before, or, as it is right now in Melbourne, a bit of rain in the forecast, to go out, have a few beers and then roll into the game. But it does put you at a significant amount of risk. I know one of the St Kilda boys who was floating around Richmond on Friday night, Thursday night last week, he was on the piss all day at a wedding, come in and pinned his hammy as well. So drinking alcohol that day before a game is like the worst thing to do for a recovery point of view. It just puts you at such a big risk of injury. So in terms of my own perspective, my own point of view, having a couple of beers and then going out and trying to train after not being the best physically prepared is actually the worst thing you can possibly do for recovery. So if you're ever thinking about doing that and you're thinking about going out playing cricket next day, maybe just think about having a couple of alcohol zeros or a couple of cider waters, or just understand that you're going to be at a high risk of injury. And we've all played with the guy as well when it turns to recovery, who just treats their body like shit. Like the person who eats shit house, they're probably a little bit overweight. Physically, they're probably not just there. and they're always sore, they're always injured, and they're whinging too. And they're always the people who are whinging, oh, I'm so stiff and sore, my back's fucked, oh, my shoulder, my hips. I'm like, mate, stop eating fucking KFC, or stop eating fucking Maccas. Stop, get off the darts, get off the piss, and then, mate, probably your back pain. It's probably not your back, it's probably your lifestyle. So I think that's the biggest misconception when it comes to recovery is that, people think that, ice baths, foam rolling, massage, all those things are recovery, but the number one most important thing for recovery is your fitness levels. The fitter you are, the more physically prepared you are, the better you're going to bounce back from a game of cricket. Like, think about, who's an absolute pristine athlete? Think about, like a Pat Cummins. He bowls 25 overs in a day. Well, do you think he's going to pull up better than Trent Lawford, or, for example? Obviously, because he's fitter, he's got a better lifestyle. Those things are the things that actually, are what are all-encompassing when it comes to recovery. So number one thing when it comes to recovery is make sure you're bloody fit. Make sure you are strong. You're going to the gym 2 or 3 times per week. You're running, 1 or 2 times per week in the pre-season. You're doing your fitness work. You're at the level. That's the most important thing. You are physically prepared for what you need to do. That's the most important thing there. It's not about how many ice baths or how long you foam roll or how many massages you get or how long you spend in the pool, etc. Those aren't the big rocks when it comes to recovery. That's the big one there. And like the number 2 most important thing when it comes to your overall recovery from a game of cricket as well is like your lifestyle that supports that. So it's how you sleep, it's your nutrition, it's your stress level management. Those are the big rocks when it comes to recovery there. Like, are you fit and do you have a good lifestyle? And if you don't and you're recovering poorly, then number 1, just for your own health and well-being, sort it out. Like, just sort your shit out. But if not, that's when we can start to go to some of those small rocks. So if you are you feel like you're doing the right things, then we can go to those small rocks. Because recovery is absolutely like crucial. Like, if we want to be a high performer, if we want to be the best we possibly can be, then we all understand that we get better, at training and in games. And the more we can train, the more we can play, the more opportunities we have to get better. It's as simple as that. Now, where overtraining comes into it is that if our bodies aren't able to back up between sessions, then that's when overuse injuries can come into it. That's where mental fatigue and burnout can come into it. Often you don't get burnt out by something that you're good at or that you're thriving in. It's always when it becomes a bit of a grind. You're sore, you're stiff, things aren't going your way as good as you want them to. You're not quite at the level that you want to be. And if you can't back up between days, then it's also, you can't back up between days. You need to play back-to-back games of cricket, like the juniors are this week in under-18s in Melbourne Premier Cricket. Then it sends a bad message to selectors, sends a bad message to your coaches that you aren't looking after your body the best way you possibly can be. And there's two sides. There's 2 sides of recovery. We've got the physical side of recovery, but we also have the mental side of recovery. The mental side of recovery is just as important as the physical side of recovery. I think we've all been through periods of high stress and high anxiety in our life, and you know how much that affects our training sessions. You probably can't lift as much in the gym. You probably can't run as far. You probably can't bowl as fast. You're a bit fidgety when you're batting. You're losing concentration. It's really important that we get our mindset and our mentals in order as well when it comes to that stuff too. So it's not just our physical, it's our mental recovery as well. And I think a lot of people neglect that, but it's all interconnected. Like, the mind and body, it's all interconnected. Like, as I sort of mentioned before, how many times do you feel stiff and sore and yuck with your body, and all of a sudden you start to feel a little bit flat, a little bit sad? But other times when your body feels $1,000,000, how happy do you feel? You feel like you can move, you feel free, all those sorts of things. That's why it's really important that we're looking after the mind and the body. And often if we fix up one of those things, the other one can be fixed up as well. So a lot of times if you are sore, for example, me on Wednesday, I woke up And I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I feel so groggy. My hammies, my hips are sore for my first sprinting session. And I'm like, oh, geez, am I getting sick? I'm feeling tired. But what I did, got up, went for a walk, and I had a 20-minute stretch on the ground. My hips started feeling better. Hammies started feeling better. And all of a sudden, I feel so much more happier. I'm like, I feel elite right now. How good is this? Purely because I've just fixed up the physical side of my recovery. So they're both interconnected, which is really, really important to understand. Sleep is the foundation of recovery, but everything that repairs in our body when we're sleeping. So the more sleep we can get, the high quality sleep we can get, the better we recover. That is the most important thing. Tying back into my own example from my previous weekend, let's say like 4 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, 2 hours sleep. Like, I'm missing out on a couple of days worth of sleep there, and I felt shocking the whole week. My weights were down in the gym. I didn't feel like I could recover well between my sessions. And it's not until, today when I've banked up that sleep again, is when I started to feel better and I can actually recover and push myself in my sessions. So getting the quality of the sleep is really important too. And some strategies to help improve your sleep is like your environment. We need to be sleeping in a dark, cold, quiet room. That's the number one thing. So using things like having your fan on or the aircon or something like that keep yourself in a quiet room. Having like your TV on at night as well is one of the most worst things you can possibly do, or any lights on outside your room, and that's just lighting up your room. Like the darker room you can get, the better, and obviously the most quiet room you can get is the best. In terms of developing like a sleeping like routine, is like going to bed at the same time every single night and waking up at around about the same time. Give or take an hour or so. I understand that there'll be differences throughout the week in your schedules and that, but try and be really consistent on regular bedtimes, regular wake-ups, even when you have days off, is like one of the big rocks when it comes to improving the quality of your sleep. And then having sort of like a routine, like understand, like have a consistent way how you wind down, try and avoid some screens, avoid some caffeine before bed. Like the closer we have caffeine to bed, the more likely is to impact our sleep. It has a half-life of 8 hours. So if we have 80 milligrams of coffee, which is about a shot, at midday, at 8 o'clock at night, we still have 40 milligrams floating around in our body. So that's why it's really, really important to not have caffeine too late in the day. I've had athletes come to me. I was one athlete in particular come to me when he first started, and his sleep schedule was absolutely cooked. He was going to sleep at like 3, 4 a.m, waking up at like 10, 11, and it's just like, that's not a lifestyle that supports high performance. Not a lot. Any goals if playing at a really high level, no, mate, your lifestyle right now does not support that at all. So one of the most proudest things that from my perspective for him was the fact how he shifted his lifestyle. Going to sleep at 10 o'clock, waking up at 7, getting his 9 hours sleep there, absolutely crucial. And it's the best thing that he's done for his lifestyle and his performance. When it comes to other things that from sleep, I mentioned nutrition before as well. Like protein's ability to repair our muscles is super important to optimize our recovery. Like in the gym or at training, we break down our foods. We break down our muscles. And we need a high protein diet to be building that back up. And it gets built back up in our sleep. And we need consistent protein. We need to be hitting at least 30 grams of protein every single time we eat throughout a week. And then moving on from that to like carbohydrates as well. Like whenever we exercise, play a game of cricket, we deplete our fuel stores. So it's important that we top them back up after the day's play. And we don't want to be eating too much shit after a game. We want to be getting high quality foods in, real whole foods, chicken, beef, lamb, fish, real meats, and real carbs. We want whole grain carbohydrates, whole grain bread. We want pasta, we want rice, we want potatoes. We want really, really good, high quality carbohydrates. And then hydration as well is super important. Make sure we're replenishing the water we lost during sweat. So making sure we're having, if we lose 1 kilo of sweat, we're drinking 1.5 liters of water. to replenish that, plus electrolytes in. Some of the best meals or snacks, for a recovery is like something like a chalky milk is underrated. You get your protein from your milk, and you get some carbs in there through the sugar and all that sort of stuff in the chalky milk. So that's some stuff to have directly after a game, a protein shake. Anything where we're having carbs, anything where we're having protein is the absolute key when it comes to recovery with that stuff. And then once we've sort of ticked off those boxes, they're our big rocks. That's our lifestyle, isn't it? Like, we're sleeping well, we're eating well. Now we need to get on some more active recovery techniques. The goal of active recovery is to remove sort of like the waste products, the byproducts that accumulate from exercise. So things like lactate, things like hydrogen ions, they build up in the body, and the goal is just to get the blood flow moving to those muscles. Number one, as I mentioned, to get rid of those byproducts, and also just help you feel less stiff and sore, and help you feel like a bit of an athlete again. Like when we sit down and we get so stiff, like me sitting down right now on the chair, like I'm feeling stiff and sore, and we all know that that motion is lotion, and getting moving is the best thing you can possibly do. So that's why it's so important as well. So once we have a really good night's sleep, we have a really, really good breakfast and a really, really good lunch, we need to get moving. Something like just going for a walk is so simple but so effective when it comes to recovery. It's not intense, but what it does, it just gets the blood flow moving, gets the legs moving, and it helps promote that recovery. Swimming, cycling, all really low impact as well, which is really, really good. And then things like mobility and stretching as well, something that I think is unbelievable. Like, when have you ever felt worse after a good stretch? Let me ask you that. Think about it. Have you ever felt worse? I seriously doubt it. Spending 10, 20, 30 minutes even, just having a stretch, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. Just put on search on YouTube on your TV, mobility follow along, and just sit down on the couch, or not on the couch, sit down in front of the couch, and just do that. And just have a really, really nice stretch and follow what's on the screen, or just sit down and just do the stretches that you know on the floor at home, in your room. Have a nice stretch. It's honestly, you feel $1,000,000. Then once we've done, they're probably our big rocks, as well as our mental relaxation. Like finding ways to switch off. If you've had a bad game, you need to find ways to not worry about it too much. And that's why I like using a training journal where you can write down your thoughts and like mind dump your thoughts into that after a game. Then you can sort of move on and forget about it. Doing things that you enjoy, like in order for us to not think about something, we need to think about something else. So catch up with some mates, or something that's actually good about ice baths, that when you're in an ice bath, you can't think about anything else apart from the ice bath, because you're freezing, you think you're going to die. So that's where mindfulness techniques and ice baths and that can be really, really beneficial when it comes to just getting your mind to switch off. But yeah, those are some of the really, some of the big rocks when it comes to recovery there. And then in terms of like managing recovery between games, like when you have back-to-back games, like it can be quite tough. And I think like a little hack that I like as well is sleeping with skins on. So those like compression pants, like 2XU or whatever brand you have, sleeping with those on is actually really, really good for recovery, that I found from my personal point of view. So yeah, those are some really, really good things that I've really found. In terms of back-to-back games as well, like that's where everything just needs to be even better. There's no room for error. Like we can't be getting on the piss. We need to make sure we're hydrating so well after the game straight away. Hydrolytes, coconut water, we're getting our electrolytes back in. We're eating really, really good food, non-inflammatory foods. We're getting to bed super early. We may be sleeping with our skins on. We could be having a stretch before we go to bed. We go to bed earlier, wake up a little bit earlier. We get up, we go for a little bit of a walk. We come back in, have a bit of a stretch, have a really, really good breakfast. And then we spend a little bit extra time warming up and we get going. I think that's the sort of the best way to go about it from that point of view there. But then like a lot of it is as well as like understand your body too and understand what works for you. So experiment with things. Like if you have access to getting a beach, go down to the beach and put your legs in the water. If you have access to an ice bath, go on the ice bath. If you have access to a sauna, try a sauna. If you have access to a spin bike at home, do the spin bike at home. If you have access to a massage. Your parents might be a physio, or you want to pay for a massage. Go and pay for a massage. Those are some other things as well that I would find really, really beneficial as well to help enhance your recovery from that. Alrighty, so let's move forward now in terms of we've got ourselves some Q&As. So, how do you handle players who struggle to get enough sleep during matches, especially like when they're in competition, like away on tour or in like a tournament mode? So obviously the players that struggle to sleep, it's a high stress thing for them. That's probably the reason why, number one, because they're probably physically tired, but mentally they're wound up. I love having a training journal and just mind dumping our thoughts. When we get home, when we get back to the hotel, write down our thoughts, be vulnerable, and just let everything be written down onto that piece of paper. Often when we keep things inside our head, it becomes messy, it becomes a bit murky, and we find hard to make sense of it. And it can really, really cause us to really be stuck in our own heads. Whereas if we write things down and we mind dump it and we talk through it to ourselves and we actually have it written in place, it becomes a lot easier to deal with, I feel like, and it allows you to sort of get it out. One thing that's really nice about talking to your coaches, doing some mindfulness or some meditation, and finding some ways to really switch off are a couple of really good other options as well. What are some signs that I look for in players that show they need more recovery time before training again? So sometimes people just aren't at the physical level, right, to train, to bowl a lot on a Tuesday after a game. And that would be my number one sign. So if you're really, really sore or really, really fatigued, your nervous system's run down, that's probably the main thing there. And what I do with my athletes, I have a wellness questionnaire and I ask them what their energy levels are like, what their soreness levels are like. And if you're sore and you're still fatigued, then it might not be best to have a full training session. It might be best to hold back a little bit. And that's some of the things I look out for there. Are you sore or are you tired? A couple of the big rocks when it comes to understanding if someone is still fatigued or not. Do I recommend any specific supplements that aid in faster recovery, or should players focus on whole foods? I'm a whole foods diet first operator. I think magnesium has a great benefits as well. It's pretty well researched in terms of helping you with sleep and recovery as well. So that's something that I use myself sometimes. But with anything as well, make sure you checked out by a doctor to make sure you have the right bloods or whatever you might need for supplements as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys sort of got a bit out of that in terms of understanding a bit more about recovery and how to best sort of maximize your performance when it comes to backing up from trainings and games and all those sorts of things. Might just get stuck into a couple of other Q&As. I'm going to get a bit of a shout out here from somebody. Does Charlie Maxwell hit the biggest ball in Premier Cricket? After watching him smack me around training last night, I reckon he could. I'm going to big Maxi in. The reason why is because he's edging frequently. That's the reason why. So if any of the boys hear that, they'll love that. But I'm going to round out the podcast there, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and got something out of that. As always, if you're interested in my coaching and you're interested in joining up and becoming a part of the high performance cricket community and being one of the athletes, the link down below to apply for my coaching services. Please give us a review. Please give this a like or a rating. And looking forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Thank you.